I've always felt bebop being difficult in the sense of not really knowing how to approach it when I sit down with my guitar. I was fortunate enough to have private lessons with a guitarist in my city who was like literally the best bebop guitar player I've ever heard. It was like I've always felt that his way of playing is literally the only way I wanted to play. And that kind of like made me see it more for what it is. It wasn't really as much of a jungle anymore because I just wanted to play like him. So this was after high school, which was about 6 years ago. So I was working part-time at that time at a grocery store. And my life was basically work at that grocery store, go home, practice jazz, and have 2 lessons with this guy who was my mentor. So I had 2 lessons a month with him. That routine made me consumed by the spirit of jazz. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was thinking about jazz all the time. It was the only music I listened to, and my girlfriend at the time, she didn't like that fact. I mean, I was listening to jazz even though she said no more jazz. I was like, no, I have to do this. So it was like I was really consumed by the fucking jazz gods. What the fuck? The lessons we had, it was kind of like us just playing, you know? So it wasn't really him being like, yeah, do that, do that. It was more like we played duo, and then he was like, have you tried doing that over that chord? Try this. Like, have you tried play the melody from this note instead? Like, he just gave me stuff along the way whilst we were playing duo. So in a weird way, it made it feel like we were just playing. It was just so the dynamic was so nice, and I remember it being like, damn, I was like starstruck every time because I was like, it could be like I could go to a gig of him when he was playing the day before, and then I would know like, shit, tomorrow we're gonna play, and like it was a lesson, so I paid him and shit. But like it's so that dynamic was so nice. I was so inspired by the day before, and then I would see him and I would be like, whoa, like wow, I'm playing with that guy that I went to see at the jazz club yesterday. So that dynamic really made me want to learn the language so much more. So for every lesson I learned 3 tunes, and we would just play them together, and then he'll give me tips and shit. And that's basically how I learned most of my standard repertoire, I'm not gonna lie. During this time I also studied the works of Pat Martino in his book Linear Expressions. So I was combining the tunes that I learned for the lessons with the book Linear Expressions by Pat Martino. So that was the perfect combination for me. Why? Like me learning improvising over the tunes became so much easier because then I could just take a tune and then I could just open the book and kind of like apply the stuff that Pat Martino teaches directly on the tune. Learn the stuff from the book, and then I'll just directly I apply it to the standards. So it was just this weird return on investment that I felt like I got most out of practicing doing this. So the reason why this combination worked so well for me, of reading the works of Pat Martino in his book Linear Expressions and then applying that to tunes, it made me come up with my own ideas when we actually sat down and had lessons. So I would be like ready in a way every time we sat down, because it would just be like I've already done the work of like, whilst we've not been having a lesson, I've just been practicing. I've been like learning from Pat Martino. That made me so confident coming to the lessons, like with concepts that I stole from Pat Martino, and my teacher would actually see that and be like, oh shit, like it made it a fun dynamic. Like he would even be impressed by the works that I've done during the time that I've just been home practicing and like learning Pat Martino stuff. And it kind of like showed in him, like he got inspired from like me learning stuff and shit. So the dynamic I had with my guitar teacher was just like a real top-notch thing. So combining linear expressions, the book that I've been talking so much about now, with learning tunes and also transcribing some lines. That was basically what I did. That workflow gave me the tools that I needed to like being able to learn tunes in a fun way. Then I could just sit with tunes and like experiment stuff and like try to like come up with my own stuff, because stuff that I learned from the book I could just directly apply it to the tunes. And in a weird way, because I have like ADHD, that was also like the best way. Because in my eyes, it had to be productive. Whatever I had to do, it had to give me like a return on investment. For the time that I put in, I always felt like I need to get something out of it. And for me to like learn tunes in that fashion of like applying concepts and like learning improvisational stuff and like opening up the fretboard as soon as possible, it gave me the amount of like the feeling of accomplishment that I needed to be able to like keep going and wanting to learn more. And when you realize stuff clicks in your head, that's like a thing that will make you keep wanting to do this. So for me, that was like realizing a G minor 9 is the same as a B flat major 7. And that shit, yes, you could read it off a book. Someone could tell it to you, like, this is how it works. But then when you actually learn that stuff from just experimenting and like learning tunes and transcribing, it's so much more like fulfilling in a way. You're like, that actually clicked for you. And that's like a personal thing that you've learned. It's just beautiful, that clicking sensation of like, oh shit, that's why this works. Most of all, that made me realize that stuff is actually explainable. It's not just people with magic brains that play this kind of stuff. There's actually a logic to everything they do. Like, I can understand how people can improvise. And when that clicks in your head, then like the world of jazz will also become smaller, because you'll realize, well, most of the stuff is actually connected and it's not that difficult to grasp anymore. In a weird way, that made me always interested in learning. My brain was so focused on like cracking the code of like tunes and jazz, and I also like, it wasn't like I thought about stuff. Like, I literally made the book think for me, you know what I'm saying? If it was a tune that I didn't know, I would just like actually like grab the book and like, oh shit, that's how you do it? Okay. I was literally just stealing and applying. And that would make me learn, that would make me understand. So that book already had the bebop lines. So I would just literally get the bebop lines, put them onto the tune, and then that would be what I would like focus on playing later. And that would, since that's what I've been practicing, that's what's gonna come out when I play the tune, you know what I'm saying? So that just made it so much more fun. And imagine like then when you're gonna like approach a tune, you're gonna learn a tune, and then you see the chords and you're like, oh shit, how do I play over that chord? You can literally just go to the source. In my case, the source was the book Linear Expressions. So I would literally just go to that book and like, okay, oh, that's how you play over that chord? All right. And then I just apply it. And then like stuff will click. You will like realize how you can do that over other chords and shit. For demonstrating this concept, here's a lick that I learned from the Linear Expressions book. Now, how can I apply this phrase over the standard on Green Dolphin Street? So the way I do it, the way I did it, was to actually like take a lick and then use it over every chord possible. Maybe you're like how can you use an A flat major phrase over an E flat major? You just transpose it, and you can do it on every chord. Like, you can literally use a diminished chord lick over a major chord. You just have to find where on the neck you have to transpose it to so it works to that specific chord. For this case, let's use this lick. Watch me apply it to every chord on this tune for one chorus. get what I'm saying here? This is how I learned this stuff. And do I recommend it? I actually do, yeah. Because it's fun, it's logical, and it's productive as fuck. For me, this is the perfect way to learn because I need to see progress in a short amount of time. That's like how I work. I can't really like do something that, of course there are like exercises I've done that's a delayed gratification in that sense, but like most of my practicing has just been like, how can I learn this fast so I can like have fun whilst doing it? This is literally the way I did it. If you feel like, wow, that actually sounds like fun, then I'd encourage you to actually go and start using this way of approaching it. You know what I'm saying? It makes it so much more fun. And as I said, it's productive too. In a weird way, you're like covering multiple areas of stuff you have to learn. You're actually applying improv concepts over tunes. So you get better at the tune and you get better at improv. So in that way, you get most return on investment of the time you're putting in, you know what I'm saying? So the time you're putting in makes you better at multiple areas. And I think that's the way to go about it. And that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed. Link in bio for one-on-one lessons. And we'll talk about what you can do to improve on guitar. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.